The stars are out tonight. It doesn't matter which side of the Phyrexian War, Brothers' War, or the War of the Ring you're on. Everyone is putting aside their differences for what really matters, an end-of-the-year award ceremony. Welcome, everybody, to the first annual Golden MTGies presented by us at the Powerful Nothing podcast. I am your host, Dan, better known on the internet as Too Sweet MTG, and for the most magical night of the year, as always, I'm joined by my co-host, James. How's it going, dude?
Pretty good. Psyched to be part of the biggest award ceremony in Magic. I know all the people at WotC are listening intently, waiting to find out which of their cards won awards. So yeah, let's get this started, man.
Well, before we start, it's worth saying, I know the audience can't see us, but be aware we are fully suited and booted for this. James, who are you wearing tonight?
Oh yeah, I went Versace for my tux personally. As you can see, obviously the listeners can't see, they'll just have to take this on trust. See, I've got a nice sort of sequined tuxedo, looking very glamorous, if I do say so myself.
Oh, lovely.
Which of the Italian designers did you go with for your tux this evening?
I'm wearing a little Rakdos number tonight. The bow tie is an axe blade designed to kill a man, and the cufflinks are actually mini explosives.
Ah, very strong. I like it.
Exactly. It's truly going to be a magical evening. Tonight's event is presented by the Tolarian Academy of Wizard Squares and Arts and Sciences, and we are truly, again, in for a magical evening. We'd like to thank the Academy, and by that I mean everyone who responded to our Google form. It is much appreciated. Thank you, everyone, for filling it in. So before we jump in, like the Academy Awards, I have prepared some very pompous and self-congratulatory intros for each categories. Some of them are quite up themselves, but as tonight, again, is the most magical night of the year, it just felt right. So let's kick it off with our first award of the evening.
Yeah, so first up, we have possibly the biggest award of the evening, I would say. Certainly one that those at WotC will be keen to find out our answer to. What are the criteria we're using here, Dan, for the best set of the year?
So, how do we measure the impact of a Magic set? Is it by the way it makes us feel? Is it by the cards that are printed within it? Is it by how good the draft environment is? To me, it's a combination of all these things and the joy it brings to the millions of players who crack, draft, and construct from them. Here are the nominations for Best Set.
So, first up, we have Phyrexia, All Will Be One. This was the set of Phyrexians, toxic, beating down with little toxic tokens. Second up, we have March of the Machine, followed by Lord of the Rings, Wilds of Eldraine, and the most recent set, Lost Caverns of Ixalan. So, drumroll, please.
And the award goes to Wilds of Eldraine. That's quite a big one and a little bit unexpected. If I'm honest, when I saw the results for this, I immediately thought it was a mistake letting people vote on this. But it just shows that kind of Wilds of Eldraine is, it's a popular setting. Like it is high fantasy. It is like fairy tales. That is popular. It does appeal to a lot of people. What did you think of Wilds of Eldraine, James?
I was pretty shocked at this one. Listen, the people have spoken. We don't have to agree with all of their takes.
Democracy is wrong, people.
No, I'll just be a dissenter, but that's fine. Wilds of Eldraine, thematically, I think it's cool. The limited environment, I thought, kind of sucked. I was pretty surprised by it. It wasn't even there was some good cards for other formats, but not a lot of home runs. I was pretty confident this was going to go to the Lord of the Rings set, to be honest, given it's biggest selling set of all time, super broad appeal in terms of the theme, and really, really impactful across basically every format in Magic where it was legal, right? I guess the one downside for it being the most impactful would be, it wasn't legal in Standard and Pioneer, but for very good reason, looking at the power level of some of the cards. And then I think my probably sort of honourable mention would have gone to March of Machine. I thought that was certainly my favourite draft environment of the year. I thought it was a super interesting draft format with a lot of depth. Some really cool gameplay in terms of how battles and stuff played out with a whole new card type. But I'm wrong, but people have spoken.
No, James.
Wilds of Eldraine.
Right. Yeah. I also voted for Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth, because me being a fanboy for Lord of the Rings definitely played a big part of it, but also I just really enjoyed it, and I thought it got the world across very, very well. And also just like the pre-releases and events I've been to afterwards, when you meet new players, all the new players I've met since the summer have said, my friend or someone I know bought some Lord of the Rings packs and that got me into it, and this is my first pre-release. Maybe Eldraine was the first one after Lord of the Rings, so it was the first, so it was people's first normal standard set, potentially. I mean, like, stuff like, I know the Enchanting Tales went down quite well. People quite like those. There were lots of good enchantments floating around, so that could be part of it, I guess.
Yeah, there were certainly cool cards. I thought it was a shame that they were like pretty non-impactful and limited compared to the other bonus sheets. But like, I thought the art looked super cool on them, and there was some much needed reprints in there for sure for Commander and whatnot. So maybe that was a part of it.
No, definitely. Again, it could just be Eldraine is way more popular than I guess we kind of realized. But yeah, a big category to kick off with. And don't worry, Lord of the Rings fans, they are represented in a lot of other categories coming up, including our next category.
Yeah, so next up, we have, following on from the best set, the best new mechanic of the year.
So 2023 has been an adventurous year for mechanics. We've seen the return of Poison, we received a new card type, one of fiction's greatest themes has been made real, and we've seen an uncommon band within 3 weeks of its release. But while it is the design team who create these mechanics, it's the players who take them, mold them, break them, and make them legendary. Here are the nominees for the best new mechanic.
First up, we have Toxic. This is, of course, the fixed Infect. We have Battles, a whole new card type, in fact, for our Marching Machines. We have Incubate. That's those incubators that turn to Phyrexian tokens. We have Descend. We have Discover, the quote-unquote fixed Cascade. See how that went.
Yep.
We have The Ring Tempts You, and we have Paradox. Paradox, not gonna lie, I had to Google it. This was from the Doctor Who set. I don't remember all the words, Daniel. There's a lot of words on Magic cards at the moment.
And the winner is Descend. So Descend, yeah. This one, obviously from Lost Caverns of Ixalan, triggers when it basically cares about things going into the graveyard from anywhere. This is one I voted for, and because I like graveyard stuff, and I guess the audience or the Academy, also feels a similar way about Descend. Yeah, it just kind of ties in things nicely. It kind of ties in like Mill and like Morbid and this kind of stuff. It kind of ties in these things together and just gives you a nice, neat little package. It was a very neat mechanic, apart from tokens, actually. Tokens not causing Descend is a bit annoying, but everything else feels quite smooth about it. What do you think about Descend, James?
Yeah, I think it's a cool mechanic for sure. I will say it's been the saving grace of this draft format for me.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because basically it's all artifact aggro decks that play very similarly and are really good. And the only other thing to do, which is kind of interesting to me at least, is the black-based Descend decks, which are pretty cool. They have a lot of recurring the same creature over and over again, which is a lot of fun, especially if that creature is a Chupacabra Echo. That's the 4-mana 3/2 that gives -X to something when it's ETBs, where X is the number of permanents in your graveyard. So there's definitely some hits on Descend for sure. I think some of the rares are cool in Commander as well, right? The the blue-black god that it's like a 2-mana 8/8 but can only attack or block if you have Descend 8.
Yeah. Actually, just on that, I guess that's one of the interesting things about Descend is that this is one mechanic that's actually it's almost two mechanics, because it cares about when things are going to the graveyard, and then you have Descend with a number next to it, which is about the number of permanents in your graveyard. So it's kind of a mechanic that's kind of cares about milling, as well as it's also kind of like a Delirium threshold style thing that cares about number of things in your graveyard. So it kind of, again, it's almost two mechanics in one, and maybe that's why people like it.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot of good stuff going on. I think there are some bits where it's it can be a little bit messy, right? 'Cause there are some things that care about, number of cards around. Say some of it are like if you descended this turn. So like if something went to your graveyard this turn, then do a thing on end step, or this spell gets better in some way. But yeah, no, I think it's a cool mechanic. I think it played out pretty well. I like the sort of deck building incentives for it in draft as well. You do have to, when you're doing the descend thing, not only do you want to mill yourself, you want to have very, very few non-permanent spells, which is kind of an interesting restriction. Like outside of premium removal, you'd kind of always just rather play the like the medium creature or enchantment or whatever over maybe a slightly better spell, which is a nice sort of wrinkle to have in draft format, I think. I thought there were some really strong contenders in this category there, actually. I thought the Ring Tempts You played out great, actually.
Yeah, I really like that. I find myself putting that just in decks nowadays, like good Ring Tempts You cards. Just giving your commander or giving any dorky creature like a looting effect is just good.
Yeah, a looting effect with a little bit of evasion, and I thought it played out in a pretty interesting way in draft as well, because like there's 4 levels, but they're not all equal, right? Like if you just descend once, it really doesn't do that much. Like the 2nd and 4th chapters are generally the chapters isn't the right word. Stages of the Emblem, the ones that really matter, right? The looting and then the damage when you hit. And that meant there was a mechanic that really rewarded you for getting a lot of it. Like if you had 2 tempts going into like late pack 3, then you really didn't care that much about tempting, so you wouldn't prioritize more. But if you had like 10, then you just want every tempt card you can get, because even once you've got all the way through that the emblem, once you're level 4, it's still good because it lets you move your ring bearer around, which is really strong. I thought that mechanic played out great. I thought battles were really good as well, actually.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think the thing with battles is obviously we've seen one version. So the battles we have seen all specifically had the subtype Siege. That doesn't mean they're all going to have Siege in the future. The battle card type could come back and be very, very different in a future set. We could see it in like Modern Horizons 3 and it does something completely different, but it's still the core thing is the same. It's like it's a thing you give someone to defend, but like it gives you a Fury on the back end. Who knows? I don't know. Like
just when you think Fury is gone from
just
modern.
when it's safe to just leave up a modern deck. You are no exactly. I think the gist is kind of like battle will definitely grow as a mechanic. I think kind of descend kind of hit the sweet spot nicely of kind of it like everything you're talking about kind of like it just wants to be indexed with lots of permanence in it. Like that is every creature-based self-mill deck in Commander. Just every descend card just goes into those decks. Like you just drop them in basically, and they work in the decks that already exist. Whereas kind of some of the other ones like maybe they need a bit more work and or only see them again, because I quite like Incubate. I thought that played very well, and then some very powerful cards with Incubate. But it would need like another set of them to kind of really be good, and kind of you see it as a thing that people build around a bit more. Basically, in that sense, there just isn't enough of it.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I think the other thing that I found quite impressive with battles is that often in the past, when Wizards has done a whole new card type, think equipment or planeswalkers, the first iteration of that has been really, really unbalanced.
Yes.
Like, when they first did equipment, they printed Skullclamp or maybe Skullclamp, or was it Jitte?
I think Jitte might have been first.
Jitte was in the first batch of equipment, wasn't it? And when they first printed Planeswalkers, I think the first cycle were really weak, and then the second cycle were way too strong and included Jason Mind Sculptor. And battles, I think they got like pretty much perfectly, certainly for limited. And they're not staples in Constructed, but there's certainly some of them that have cropped up. Like the 5-color one is cool in Standard, and the one that does the Hex Mage thing is pretty good as well. Yeah,
I really like that one. Invasion of Ikoria, I think it is. That one's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. So I thought that it was like quite impressive to pull that off first time,
No, definitely.
Also, I'd like to point out that I might not be the only one who didn't know what Paradox did, because it got 0 votes.
It did get 0
Which
votes.
is quite impressive.
Paradox is whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand. No, that's not always that.
You see, you don't know what it does either.
Yes, it is. No, it's whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, do a thing. It's just the first card I looked at had too much other rules text. They just shortened the reminder of that.
Right, of course, yeah.
So like for example, like Iraxa, Empress of Mars, the one that when you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, create a 2/2 red alien warrior creature token. I think we like that one for Peasant Cubes. That one, it's Paradox whenever you cast it. So
yes, for sure. And to be clear, I don't think this is a bad mechanic at all.
Yeah.
It was just in not the most widely played set.
No, exactly. Yes, of all the sets, I think we kind of had our hands on Doctor Who, probably the least. But that makes sense. All right, should we take it away with our next category, James?
For sure. So next up, we have Strictly Better.
New cards are printed all the time. In an effort to make sets new and exciting, often yesteryear's favourites are repackaged, retuned and juiced up, leading to those forgotten favourites laying in the chaff box of time. Rest in peace, Savannah Lion. You are gone, but never forgotten. Here are the nominees for Strictly Better.
So first up, we have Bitter Triumph. We're saying approximately strictly better than Infernal Grasp. We have Delighted Halfling. We're dubiously saying that this is strictly better than Birds of Paradise. We have Get Lost being better than Fateful Absence. For fourth Aeolingus, we have the comparison card being Entreat the Angels as that big token maker. And finally, we have Planar Disruption. This was the pacifism, which also prevents them from activating abilities.
And the winner is fourth Aeolingus. This card has been really, really good. Like every time I've seen it, it just wins games. And I think the comparison. So this is also just the best version of any X mana make some creature spells. This is the best version of all of that as well, because it also is good if you're not making any creatures, because it can make you the monarchy. This is also, in terms of voting, the clearest winner of anything this year, of any award we'll be seeing today. This is like, in terms of percentage, it received over half the votes of all of the options available to you. I think this is a super busted card. I'm playing it a lot more than I thought I was when we reviewed it. It just kills people, James, in every format you can play it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we liked this card when we reviewed it, but it's significantly better than we thought, I think. And you were more on the money with this one than me, actually.
That was more, I was talking to the wife about it. She thought it was going to be really good in Legacy, so yeah.
Yeah, no, the card is absolutely absurd. And it's good at, so many different points in the game. You know, it scales so well into the late game. I think this is certainly the most powerful card on this list, right? Just if you ignored the strictly better part of it, this is the most powerful card.
No, that makes sense.
And it is certainly way better than something like Entreat the Angels or Finale of Glory, I think was the white one that makes X 2/2s.
No, exactly. That makes sense. It's interesting. Kind of second in terms of the votes was Bitter Triumph, and that is, as we've kind of discussed, it is probably the best Infernal Grasp or kind of 2-mana killer creature spell out there. But I guess kind of the ceiling for what that could be in a couple of years is way higher than a card like Fourth Aeolingus. Kind of we're not going to see them put Monarch on the token maker like this that often, but every so often or twice a year we'll see a card that is 1 and a black with an effect that destroys a creature or a planeswalker. So I think kind of we similarly with Get Lost or Planar Disruption, we're more likely to see effects like those kind of slowly power creep up in the future, if that makes sense. Yeah,
for sure. It's the combination of having more being able to target more things, having that versatility to destroy planeswalkers, and then the ability to use it as a discard outlet is just super relevant. And, it's incremental, but there's a lot of advantages of this over something like Infernal Grasp or Go for a Throat, that sort of card that we've played in the past.
No, fantastic. Yeah.
I'd say as if we were looking, at the very narrow definition for pedants of strictly better, we'd probably have to say the pacifism upgrade, planar disruption, because there are no scenarios where pacifism is better than planar disruption realistically, whereas you could be at exactly 3 life with an infernal grasp in hand and no other cards to discard, and then your infernal grasp would be better than Bitter Triumph, right? But I think realistically, Bitter Triumph is a really big upgrade. Right. Next up, we have the best new card for Commander.
Commander continued as the juggernaut of Magic's favourite format in 2023, showing that the most important thing to Magic the Gathering is the gathering and the friends we made along the way. Here are the nominees for the best new card for Commander.
We have Displaced Dinosaurs, Ileshnorn, Mother of Machines, Mirkwood Bats, Ojer Tak, Deepest Foundation, Roaming Throne, The One Ring, and Up the Beanstalk.
And the award goes to The One Ring. I'm not surprised by this, just because it's colourless and can effectively go into any deck, and is also one of the most iconic things in popular culture from the last, 100 years, maybe? It's kind of like... and also it's a very, very good Magic card that, time walks you and draws you a bunch of cards really, really quickly with very little downside, especially in Commander, as you have so much life.
And hip-hop artists will spend £2 million on it. So
that also helps, yes.
That'd be good,
That definitely helps with the... Yeah. The fact the One Ring had, actual, mainstream, news crossover is huge, basically. And I'm not surprised by this winning. It wasn't the one I voted for, actually.
Oh, interesting. What do you vote for?
I actually voted for Mirkwood Bats. Just because... So I will accept the One Ring is generically it is probably the best new Commander card of the year, just because it in theory can go in this could be after your Soul Ring and your Arcane Signet, you put a One Ring in every deck. I fully acknowledge that. But just Mirkwood Bats is the one that kind of whenever you make a token or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses a life. That's just so much of what the new cards in Magic are now. It's everything makes a blood token, everything makes a treasure, or just good old Aristocrat decks where you're sacrificing creatures. It just does an obscene amount of work, because its opponents lose life on the way in and on the way out, and that's I think kind of makes up for the fact that it's only tokens that trigger it rather than anything else, rather than just regular creatures or stuff like that. But it's also a common and 24p at time of recording, whereas the One Ring is quite expensive. So in terms of actually being able to go in decks, Mirkwood Bats will probably see more play because people can buy them. That was my theory anyway. But what did you go for this one, James, of interest?
I totally agree, actually. I actually voted for Mirkwood Bats as well.
No.
Obviously, if we were just going on power level, One Ring is better. But my approach to Commander, I feel like you can always buy a bunch of $50 Mythic Rares that are going to be great in your Commander deck, and they'll do lots of good work, because they have 2 pages of text on all of them. And it's, to me anyway, it's a lot more fun to win with... a bunch of dorky commons that you've stuck together and they become more than the sum of their parts.
Yeah.
Rather than, look at my Mythic Rares. Not to say that the One Ring doesn't do cool stuff in Commander. It definitely does, with all the untappy shenanigans. It can be a lot of fun. But I'm not that high, for example, just in terms of play experience for me personally, on just put the One Ring in every Commander deck you have, because it's a powerful card. I find it more interesting to... But I describe my approach to Commander as what's the lowest power level of cards I can win with. And Mirkwood Bats is a better fit there, so I like it a lot.
No, that makes sense. No, I do like that. Another card I do just want to touch on is Roaming Throne. I don't know if you've seen this one, James. This is one that doubles up triggered abilities of creatures of a type you name when it comes in any kind of typal deck where you're kind of playing a load of the same types of creatures. This card is extremely busted. I don't own one of these yet. I should probably pick one up, because I do have an Elves deck, that kind of stuff. And it's like at a base level, it could just double up the triggered ability of your commander. But if you're in a typal deck where you have more creatures that are going to be triggering it, it's actually obscene. So I think that is also a good powerful shout.
Yeah, no, that card seems really cool for sure. I have a changeling tribal deck with sort of a bunch of changelings and the best hits of tribal lords in Magic. I might try and pick one up for that. It looks super sweet.
Yeah, that does seem super fun.
Also, if you ever name Chupacabra with it Unlimited and get your double Chupacabra Echo, ooh, it's very spicy.
Let's go. All right, should we take it away with our next category of the day, James? Our next award.
Next up, we have one that folks at WotC will not want to be claiming. This is the biggest mistake in Magic of 2023.
To paraphrase Gordon Gekko, greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right, greed works. Greed clarifies, cuts through, and captures the essence of the evolutionary spirit. Greed in all of its forms, greed for life, for money, knowledge, has marked the upward surge of mankind, and greed, you mark my words, will not only save Wizards of the Coast, but that other malfunctioning corporation called Hasbro. Here are the nominees for the biggest mistake of the year.
There are 3 nominees in this category. First up, we have the One Ring. We have the Discover mechanic as a whole. And we have Aftermath booster packs.
The winner of this award is actually none of those. The winner is Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast for firing a large portion of their staff 2 weeks before Christmas, in a year where WotC has recorded record profits. That happened after we made the Google form, and is shocking, if I'm honest with you. Corporate greed knows no bounds, I guess.
Yeah, this was heinous. I think WotC probably got less of the cuts than other bits of Hasbro, but still, WotC is propping up Hasbro at this point. Hasbro is a collection of subsidiaries that all make a loss other than WotC, which makes a massive profit every year.
Yeah.
The solution to, hey, all our other things are making a loss is not to cut jobs at WotC. It is to... Not that I want anyone to lose their job, but
no, exactly.
If you have to do that, probably it doesn't make sense to me to be cutting jobs at WotC. WotC is growing like crazy.
No, exactly, and I think it is very important to just say kind of like, yeah, we don't want anyone to lose their jobs. I mean, I've worked for a company that's just been culling people for. Actually, I'm not going to put this bit in. I've worked at companies where there's been that level of staff reduction, and it does not help morale. No one feels good, and everyone's just overworked. And yeah, it's something that over the last couple of years, like, I think it's fair to say that kind of like every now and then there'll be a set that kind of maybe the draft environment isn't to everyone's liking, but just in terms of like the product they're putting out, you can't say that. Yeah, I can't say that kind of like it's not been good or that people don't like it. Like you can complain about some things like pack prices going up, but that's not the people who make it. That's not the people who is being let go. That's the people who are making the decisions to let people go. They're the ones putting up the prices of packs and all this kind of stuff. The things we actually don't like, kind of like the multiple like printings of Secret Lair. It's kind of like we have some like write-ins for this section, like or Secret Lair variant printings, just like it being hard to keep track of all the things. Corporate greed is on here. Kind of like all these additional booster packs, all these additional things that kind of is taking it away from the core game. These are the things that kind of is hanging over, I guess, this year. It's not a nice way to end the year, basically.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I think we're not afraid generally to call WotC out when we think they make mistakes. But in general, let's face it, they're doing a good job because we're all still invested enough in this game that we all care. And we're all we're listening to podcasts or making podcasts and spending a lot of time on this game, right? And that's because it's a great game, and it's continued to be a great game, and they're doing a really good job, I'd say, on the whole. And clearly they're being successful in the business sense, right? So these, I don't see the logic for this. But there we go. Nothing we can do about it, I guess. Yeah, and we should just say at this point, our sympathies with the people who were affected by this, and hope you all go on to do many other and successful things, either within the context of Magic or outside of.
No, definitely. Yeah. Well said, James. Well said.
We should also probably just say what won on the voted bit. Or did you want to do that or not?
No.
Okay, cool.
Let's have a look. It was Aftermath booster packs, but we had a lot of write-ins as well. So
okay, sure.
I've just got that. No, I've said it as fact. I've overwritten.
Okay, no, I like it.
Yeah. All right, let's get this back on the rails. Let's talk about something a bit more cheerful. James, we take it away with our next award of this magical evening.
For sure. Next up, we have the best new cube card of 2023.
360, 540, 720. For some, these are just numbers. For others, they are trick modifiers on Tony Hawk Pro Skater games. For a chosen few, they are spots that every Magic card is competing to get into. For a card to be put into a cube, it has to be exceptional. To be the best cube card of the year, it has to be something truly special. Here are the best cube cards of 2023.
That's the best instruction yet. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, the nominees we have are Atraxa, Grand Unifier, Bitter Triumph, Fourth Aeolingus, Orcish Bowmasters, The One Ring, and the Cycle of Lord of the Rings Land Cyclers. Drum roll, please.
And the award goes to Bitter Triumph. So the juiced up Infernal Grasp takes down best new cube card of the year. I was a little surprised by this one, but of all the ones on the list, it is an uncommon, means that it will see the most play just because, one, it'll be super cheap. Two, it can go in peasant cubes as well as budget cubes, as well as the top level of cubes. And I guess that is a sign of a very good Magic card. We said it before on the podcast that any cube it can be run in, it will be run in, and the fact that it can be budget cubes all the way up to super powered level cubes means it's going to be a good card. Did you vote for Bitter Triumph, James, or did you vote for something else on the list?
I didn't. I was really torn on this one. I was mostly going on power level here, and so the ones I considered were basically the One Ring and Fourth Aeolingus. I think probably the two most powerful cube cards, although certainly, Bowman and Atraxa in that mix as well. I think for me, it boils down to, I think Fourth Aeolingus is probably the most powerful of these cards if it is in your deck. But pack one, pick one in most cubes, I tend to take the One Ring because it is colorless and goes in every deck and is really good in pretty much every deck. So I settled on the One Ring in the end for this, but I think it's really close. I think all these cards are like very legit answers.
No, definitely. I actually don't. I think I might have voted for Bowmasters for this one. I'm not 100% sure actually. My thinking was like I've mentioned in this episode earlier, kind of like I think Bitter Triumph is the best we will see for now. Like Atraxa, we're going to discuss before. It's kind of the second or third best reanimation target. It's hard to get excited about the second or third best of something, even though Atraxa is a very, very good Magic card. Orcish Bowmaster is just a really unique effect, and I do like it. And I think for lower power level cubes, the land cyclers are really, really good. Like mana is so free now in cubes. Like you have Triomes, Shocks, Jewels, Fetches, and you can add the land cyclers as well to get all of those. Like I think the land cyclers are definitely the least sexy, but in terms of bread and butter, I think they're also very good. Like all these cards on this list, I think are actually phenomenal and will be staples for a while. The one that the one I could see coming out quickest is Bitter Triumph, just because there's a chance they print another version that's better in a year, or actually no, they print multiple versions that are better over the next 2 years, meaning the effect is kind of more likely to be replaced.
It's possible I get biased, but I think that's like the best one at the moment by quite a lot. I could totally see that though. I think it's worth noting this was actually like one of the most even categories we had in terms of a vote. Like Atraxa, the Land Cyclers, Fourth Aeolingus, and Bitter Triumph all got like really high percentages of the votes, pretty evenly split between those four. I think it's a lot of this is on like your personal preferences in Cube, right?
No, definitely 100%. Like I don't think I've actually played with Orcish Bowmasters in Cube yet because it doesn't get past.
Yeah, it sure doesn't.
A lot of these don't, and that's a sign of very good cards, I guess. So, no, awesome. Yeah. Very good card. Very good year for Cube in general, I think. Like, these are kind of the 6 most impactful, and they're all very, very good cards. But there is a whole host of cards that we haven't mentioned that could have been that could have made it on the list as well. Like, yeah, something like Delighted Halfling is a fantastic card as well. Like Up the Beanstalk, I've not really tested enough, but I think people are doing stuff with that in Cube nowadays. Yeah, lots of good cards from this year.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, for our next category, we have the best artwork of the year.
The Oxford English Dictionary defines art as the expression or application of creative skills and imagination. The artists responsible for tonight's nominees have certainly captured our imagination and given the cards a life of their own. Here are the nominations for Best Artwork.
So, first up, we have The Plenor Fields Panorama by Tyler Jacobson. We have the sexy Jeff Goldblum art by Bartek Fedchak. That can't be how you say that.
The trick I've learned with this is just commit. Say it like you know how it's pronounced, even if you have no idea.
Yeah. Okay. Secondly, we have the sexy Jeff Goldblum artwork by Bartek Fedijak. We have the Phyrexian Atlas by Illustrinasia. We have Placid Rottentail by Philippe Berberan. And finally, we have Ailesh Norn, the Mother of Machines by Dominic Meyer. Worth noting, there are also some write-ins as well for this category. Poison Dart Frog got a few votes, but who was the eventual winner, Daniel?
And the winner, quite rightly, was Sexy Jeff Goldblum by Bartek Fedijak. I thought it was a bit unfair putting this one on the list, if I'm honest with you, because it's like all the other ones are kind of people have made like have used imagination and skill to create something that didn't exist before, whereas this person just literally painted a still from a film, like very well, I would say, like it's very well done, but they have painted a still of a film that is a meme already. I mean, I voted for it. I'm not going to lie.
Well, yeah, you didn't need to say it. We all knew you voted for that.
I'm only human, James.
That is true. Oh dear. I managed to resist the temptation to vote for sexy Jeff Goldblum, although it's definitely a strong option.
What did you go for then? What was your choice?
I went for the Phyrexian Atlas art. I thought it was really cool. It's very, I assume it was inspired. It's very reminiscent of, the other like classical paintings of like the Seven Circles of Hell from Dante's Inferno and all that stuff. I think Botticelli maybe is a famous one, but yeah, there's a ton of them. But yeah, I felt like shifting that to Phyrexian Hell was pretty cool and did a great job on it.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, no. If Sexy Jeff Goldblum hadn't been on the list, I would have voted for Pelennor Fields. Like, it's actually the first bit of magic art I'm actually probably going to try and get at some point. Like because it's the panorama of cards. I'm probably actually going to try and put that together at some point and put it in a frame because I think that's awesome. So that would have got my vote if the meme wasn't so strong.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I sort of expected this category to be just loads of really small amounts of a vote, because obviously it's like a really subjective question.
Yeah.
But it turns out it's not subjective at all. Everyone just votes for sexy Jeff Goldblum.
Quite right. Good.
Completely fair.
All right, well, our next category is a big one, James. It's a big one. Do you want to take it away with our next award?
Yeah, so next up, we have the Best New Commander of 2023.
Legends. Few words fill us with such memories and thoughts of heroes of old, symbols of heroism and bravery, capable of tremendous feats long remembered, from Kenrith the Returned King to King Arthur, from Melandra, Skydreamer to Alan Shearer. We find ourselves drawn to heroes fictitious and real as a symbol of how we can better ourselves. Here are the nominees for the Best New Commanders of 2023.
And the nominees in this category are Aragorn the Unifier, Sauron the Dark Lord, Urtek, Remnant of Memnarch, Yargul and Multani, Julodok, Void Gorger, and Dan, who was the eventual winner.
And the award goes to Yargul and Multani. I'm really happy with that. I kind of put it on there because it's one I like and think is cool. It's fantastic that a 6-mana generic 18/6 is the best commander of the year. I'm so here for that. This deck is actually super fun as well. It's one of the ones I put together for this year, and it's turning Giant Growth into a win condition because you can just swing for 21 points of commander damage. It's really fun. I really like this commander. I thought it was sweet. I'm glad it's one.
Yeah, get that Berserk in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks really cool. I've not had the pleasure of playing with or against this in Commander yet, but it certainly seems sweet. I did manage to, in Limited, there was the Voldaren Epicure was in that format, which lets you fling your Yargul and Multani at someone, which is a lot of fun. So yeah, certainly only good memories of this card. Great pick. I would not have guessed that the best new commander of 2023 would be a vanilla creature. I'm all there for it.
But it's worth pointing out the way that we picked the other ones was that they were the most popular commanders on EDHREC. So Aragorn, Sauron, Urtet, Zerdok are the most popular commanders from this year, just in terms of numbers being printed. I put Yargul and Multani on because I love that card, and the deck is really fun, and I'm so happy that the dumb Frog Spirit Elemental won. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's sweet. I think the fact that people picked this, does this mean that everyone's sick of them printing like 2 pages of text on every Magic card? They're the most popular commander. Obviously, this is from the list we chose. We did start with every legendary creature of the year, but the most popular pick was literally a vanilla creature with some flavor text.
I am so happy about that. It's so good. Yeah. If you want to see, I'll put links down in the show notes to firstly the deck I put together and a video where I go over it. It's just basically there's so many effects that cares about the size of a creature. Like there's so many things that are like sacrifice a creature, draw cards equal to the power of the creature they've been sacrificed. And there's also a ton of cards, like if you've been playing against Scam, there's cards like Not Dead After All and the Undying effects that kind of bring it straight back to play, so you can do it multiple times. It's really stupid and really fun. And yeah. Check out the deck list if you're thinking of building Yargul and Multani. It's awesome. We should probably mention some of the other ones. Like, have you built or played against or seen in the wild any of the other commanders on the list?
Yeah, I think some of these other ones are definitely pretty sweet. I think Urtet looks like a ton of fun to build, actually. But certainly, like, the one that makes me want to build it on this list is absolutely Yargul and Multani. So, correct winner, I think.
Correct choice. Well done, everyone.
Yeah.
We did it.
So next up, we have the best art style of 2023.
What once was an expedition into the art style of a plane has blossomed into a regular boost of fun feature of Magic the Gathering. Love them or hate them, they are certainly here to stay. Here are the nominations for best art style.
Oh, so first up, we have the Borderless Ica art style from Phyrexia All Will Be One. This was the sort of black and white, spiky-looking Phyrexian dudes. We have the panorama scenes from Lord of the Rings. We have in the Enchanting Tales showcase treatment from Wilds of Eldraine. That was the bonus sheet to the enchantments. We have the TARDIS showcase treatment from the Doctor Who Commander decks. And we have the Borderless poster cards from Lord of the Rings. They were the really crazy looking ones.
And the award goes to Enchanting Tales, Wilds of Eldraine. I can kind of see why this would win. Like, the card selection I thought was very good with this. And obviously art style is subjective. I do think it captures the fairy tale aspect of Eldraine quite well. And the fact that Eldraine won Set of the Year means that it has a lot of fans out there. So I guess that's probably a big factor of it being taken down. But yeah, I'll just on top of like, there are some utter bangers in terms of reprints, like reprinting Doubling Season, Parallel Lives, like Rhystic Study, and like Necropotence into sets that you can buy for normal amounts of money is very good. So there's probably an element of that as well. What do you think of the Enchanting Tales, James? And which one did you vote for out of interest?
Yeah, I liked the Enchanting Tales. This is what I voted for. For me, it was between the Enchanting Tales and the panorama scenes from Lord of the Rings. I thought they both looked really cool. I think, yeah, they reprinted nice cards on the Enchanted Tales, and I thought the art that worked pretty well. Did not like the borderless poster cards from Lord of the Rings at all. They let me unleash my inner grumpy old man and talk about how they don't look like Magic cards. And the borderless Ico was like fine but not exciting for me. I think Enchanting Tales is a good winner here.
That makes sense. So my second would actually no, I did vote for the panoramas. As I mentioned, I'm probably going to try and collect and buy one of them. But yeah, definitely deserved winner. I think Enchanting Tales definitely captures the set it's from as well as, if not better than a lot of them. I do have a soft spot for the borderless Ica ones because it is metal as hell and really cool. But yeah, I guess a kind of subjective, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, this is again a very subjective category, right? Like, pick what you want. I'm sure there are people who really love the borderless poster cards. Cool. Next up, we have the most deserving ban of 2023.
All right, this one is a bit out there, by the way.
Go for it. I'm excited. I've not read it. I'm excited.
Have you not? Okay. These cards were born to be cast, though they often sought, like Icarus, to fly too high and far too lonely than they ought, to kiss the sun of east and west and hold the world at their behest, to hold the terrible power to whom only gods are blessed. But all these cards have just been banned. Here are the nominations for most deserving ban.
That was great.
That's actually a Faith No More song.
Okay, first up in this category, we have Expressive Iteration, banned in Legacy, of course. We have Fable of the Mirrorbreaker, banned in Standard. Fury, banned in Modern. Geological Appraiser, that's their 4-mana Discover creature, banned in Pioneer. Monastery Swiftspear, banned in Pauper. And White Plume Adventurer, banned in Legacy.
And the award goes to White Plume Adventurer in Legacy. So, White Plume Adventurer, for those unaware, it's the 3-drop that brings the initiative into the game. This is like, we already knew beforehand, the kind of like with Monarchy, mechanics made for multiplayer games don't transition well into single player games. And by God, White Plume Adventure really, really exemplifies that. I know this is a touchy subject in my household. My wife won quite a big Legacy event with this deck. She's still playing it. There are still other initiative creatures out there, but they're all 4 mana. The fact this is 3 meant that you could get this out on like turn 1, like Ancient Tomb, Accelerant this. Not hard to do in Legacy. Yeah, game initiative on turn 1 is kind of busted. I can see why they banned it. I don't think you like this card, James. Tell me about White Plume Adventurer and your experiences with it.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, the initiative is kind of a dumb mechanic for 2 players. I mean, like, it's fine in certain contexts. I think Legacy, the 4-mana ones are fine, but one thing that anyone who has played the Legacy format will know is that Legacy players don't like to wait until turn 3 to cast their 3-drops. Mm-hmm. They're an thoroughly impatient bunch, I would frankly say. And this coming down on turn 1, and you're like sat there looking at your hand of like, oh, look, I've got this like Delver of Secrets, and like, it just doesn't matter, like, and the fact that, if you kill it, it doesn't really matter. They've still just got the initiative, and it kind of invalidates a lot of strategies, right? And particularly in combination with Cavern of Souls, so you can't even Force of Will the White Bloom.
Oh, you can't even counter it.
Yeah. It's a bit miserable. I definitely get why they decided to cut this one. I think that was probably a pretty legit decision and a pretty legit vote from the public, I would say. Massive win as well, like almost half the votes for White Bloom.
Yeah. This is our second highest win percentage of the day. It beat out Fury. Fury had about half as many votes as this, and Geological Appraiser just after that. But let's talk about some of the other cards. So Fury, I think, was kind of got to the point where it had to be banned. We've spoken about it on the podcast before. We kind of won't dive into that too much, but kind of it's only recently been banned. And I think the deck is still putting up numbers, so that's a bit worrying.
Yeah, for sure. I think that was certainly the card they could ban in that deck and like still have it kind of be a thing, which was maybe why they went for it. But yeah, I think pretty good ban. It's hopefully unlock some creature decks. We'll see.
No, definitely. And the more I think about it, the more I just think, yeah, quite to be banned because it's the only one that kind of does something that regular decks don't do. It introduces a whole additional value mechanic that none of the other cards on this list do. Like it introduces something so outside of the rest of the game. Like the rest of them either like give you like grinding value, this kind of stuff, but this brings a whole another dynamic that you just can't get anywhere else. And you have to be in a specific type of deck, like a creature-based deck, to fight against it, the type of value. So yeah, can definitely see why it was banned.
Yeah, 100%. Is that what you voted for here, Dan?
It is what I voted for. Yes.
Yeah, that checks out. I actually voted for Fable of Mirrorbreaker in Standard.
But do you love that card, James?
I do love that card. I know that card's really, really good. And actually way too busted to be in a normal Standard format. Yeah, I think this was like the best thing to be doing by a lot in Standard. You see so many decks that were like basically just red because you have to be red because you have to play Fable of Mirrorbreaker. And Standard actually looks really healthy now to me. I think it's gone in a much more interesting direction than playing a bunch of Fable mirrors. So I think like this was definitely maybe like the most successful ban of the year, I'd say.
That's fair. Yeah. It means people are playing your format again, and that's fantastic. All right. Well, we're on to the big one. James, you want to take it away with our final award of the evening?
Yeah. So the last category is our overall Card of the Year for 2023.
From Commander Darlings to bannable blockbusters, the cards nominated tonight brought Magic players all over the world together, in tabletops real and virtual. They have led as many conversations as games they have won, but only one of them can rise to the top. Here are the nominees for Card of the Year.
First up, we have Atraxa Grand Unifier, Delighted Halfling, Fourth Eorlingas, Orcish Bowmasters, The One Ring, and Up the Beanstalk.
And the award goes to Orcish Bowmasters. So Orcish Bowmasters has been in a different category. It didn't win Best Cube Card, but it takes home Card of the Year. I'm a little bit surprised by this one. So personally, I voted for The One Ring just because of, I guess, iconicness, playability, and the whole Post Malone bringing real world attention to it. But I guess as Orcish Bowmasters has just probably affected actual gameplay more. Like you can have multiples of them in play. People are casting them more. It means one drops don't get played as much. It's probably ruined Vintage for a fair number of people.
I've heard many complaints about what happens when you activate Bazaar of Baghdad with an Orcish.
That's kind of what I was referring. Yeah, kind of what I was referring to. But yeah, Orcish Bowmasters takes down our Card of the Year. What do you think about the Bowmasters, James?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty legit choice. Super impactful in a lot of formats. Like certainly, I think the most impactful Card of the Year in Legacy. Like pretty transformative, I think, to that format. Very impactful and modern. I think it. I mean, the scam deck was already great, but that like really put it over the top. I think in a lot of ways, really helped to Murktide match up a lot. made many Vagabonds very sad. Pretty legit in Vintage as well. Incredible cube card. Not really any bad things to say about it. Actually, no, it's not true. I've said many bad things about Orchid, but not disparaging its power level.
No, definitely. I guess the complaint of the card is that it does make. Actually, so the complaint is that it could punish fair decks by like killing like mana dorks and that kind of stuff. But I guess the fact that it punishes broken decks at the same time, like it stops like the wheel style of decks, or it punishes that kind of strategy, which in Cube has seen a lot of play, and I know there's been some play in like Legacy and also obviously in Vintage as well, where you have Time Twist and that kind of stuff. So I guess to an extent it is being played in every format that it can be played in, and is it probably a 4 of in every constructed format that it can be played in?
Yeah, you don't see many 2 of Bowmans, do you?
So the other ones I did well in this category. So second was the One Ring. Yeah, as I mentioned, I'm not surprised by that. Third was actually Atraxa Grand Unifier. It has been a hell of a year for Atraxa because it has been standard legal for the whole year, unlike a lot of the other ones on this list. Has made an impact there as well. Fourth place, Up the Beanstalk. I should probably play with this card more. I don't think I've ever cast an Up the Beanstalk. I only realized that it replaced itself. It's definitely something I read the first time I read the card. I didn't just miss it, but it's something that kind of wasn't stored in my memory bank. So kind of just like it replaces itself when it comes in. That's really good. Like it cycles itself and then gives you more value.
Yeah, it's like this card advantage engine that sucks. Like it's bad for you even if you can answer it because they already got that card and it was only 2 mana. I think it's like pretty specific to Modern in lots of ways.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Just because they're already playing like Leyline Binding, which triggers it, Solitude that triggers it, Fury that triggers it. So it's like, it wasn't like, oh, I got this new card advantage engine, I'm going to take advantage of it by playing these cards with high CMC. It was, I'm already playing all these cards with high CMC. Yeah. Look, this 2-drop draws me 10 cards over a game.
That's nuts. Yeah. And it being an enchantment as well is probably quite annoying to answer in that format.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. Well, congratulations to Orchid Masters and congratulations to all of our winners. Again, the most magical night of the year. I'll be honest, every time I say that, it's been difficult to not say the most magical night in Magic, but we have done it. We've made it this far. But I guess kind of before we finish up for the day, James, and for the year, actually, what's been your like overall thoughts of 2023 in terms of Magic? I think it's been pretty good, but like what's been your highlights or your lowlights? Like, what stood out to you?
Yeah, I think it's been, I'd say, generally really positive. The Lord of the Rings set was obviously a really big win for Magic in general, and I thought it had some pretty cool cards. I think there have been, and we've had some great draft formats, I think. Like March for Machines was one of my favorite draft formats for quite a while. I think it's been a good year for Cube, certainly. It's been like really interesting new cards get printed that go in a lot of cubes, and that's a pretty good place to be. I'd say there's been some negatives as well. Like, I think especially like Modern has been in a pretty rough place for a lot of the year, which isn't ideal. I think like they could have acted a lot quicker to try and resolve some of that. I'd say similar things for Pioneer, actually, in a lot of ways. Standard, I haven't played a lot of, but I think has got a lot better now. The draft formats, there have also been some pretty bad ones for me, as well as a couple of really strong ones. Like, I didn't really enjoy Wilds of Eldraine draft that much. I mean, with the disclaimer that, like, and most draft formats are fun for like the first 10 drafts, right?
Yeah,
because you're still figuring it out. But I felt like that one didn't really have a lot of staying power. I don't love the current draft format either. I think that it's just really not very balanced, and it feels like when you go outside of sort of the natural best decks and try and do anything a little bit different, then you get really, really punished most of the time. Which again just kind of hurts the replayability of it. But yeah, I think in general, I'd say pretty strong year for Magic.
No, definitely. I think for me, kind of the main thing is that this has felt like the year where kind of Magic has kind of properly come back. Like, because for me, like, I really don't play much Arena. I don't play Mitgo. I play in paper, and this has felt like the year where kind of like, well, for one, big events have come back. Like, I was very lucky to go to MagicCon Barcelona. Looking forward to going to MagicCon Amsterdam next year. Kind of like just the event side of thing, and just playing with people again. That's been the biggest takeaway of this year. And I think, yeah, like we've had, I think, some bangers. Like I generally think Lord of the Rings might be one of the best sets in, like, actually one of the best sets ever. Like gameplay, lore, like treatments, all this kind of stuff. It just ticked every box for me. And if I'm honest, I'm probably not going to be that well treated in any universes beyond they have coming out in the future. I think this might be kind of like or for me personally, it might be like the golden high point of universes beyond that came this year. I'm still excited to see what comes next. Like next year, there's a lot of cool stuff. Like just like the standard sets all seem really cool for next year. Like we have Murders of Karlov Manor, the murder mystery set. We have Outlaws of Thunder Junction, which I think is the Western set, which sounds sick. You've then got Bloomburrow, which is that the all tiny animals set? There's no humans in it or anything like that.
Yeah, that's one.
And then you have Dustmore and House of Horror, which is the whole set in a haunted house. Those all sound really cool. I will caveat that by saying we have Modern Horizons 3 coming out, which might just ruin everything, but but it'll at least be fun.
Yeah, we won't be bored at least.
There'll be a lot to talk about.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think, going back to events are a ton of fun. That's good to see like Axion now doing big events again. The UK, shout out to Francois and Liz. I think, the Lord of the Rings set was definitely a really big hit. I think getting to see like the designer's creativity when it comes to flavor come through a lot in the Lord of the Rings cards was really cool. Like it's just really interesting to see like, you know, their take on a new raft of characters, right? Like what does the Magic version of Gandalf or Gollum or whoever look like? It's a more interesting new thing to see than like the 15th Chandra, because there's just not enough more interesting stuff to do with Chandra, right? It's all been done, and this was like really fresh and different, and because they're characters that, I mean, obviously this is a very subjective thing, because they're characters that I personally knew well. It was cool, like that flavor came through really well, I think.
No, 100%, completely agree. And just I think the influx of new players as well with that set, like it's probably, I mean, even without Lord of the Rings, there'd probably be more people playing Magic at the end of this year than any year. But I think doubly so because of that set. Like, I know so many people who got interested in Magic, kind of like, oh, that hobby you do, it's Lord of the Rings. Tell me about that. Like it's brought so many people into it, and I think that's just been fantastic. So onwards and upwards. Cool. Well, I think that's going to bring it to the end of the award ceremony for tonight. It has truly been a magical evening. Do please follow the podcast, tell a friend, leave a 5-star review, whatever the positive affirmation that your podcast platform lets you do. It would really help us out grow the podcast. James, pleasure as always. Thank you very much.
Yeah, always fun. And we'll be back on the pod in 2024.
Yeah, that's right. We're both going to take a little bit of a well-deserved break. We'll be back in the new year. Happy holidays, everyone. Whatever you're doing, look after yourselves and each other. Have an awesome time. Everyone, take care out there. Until next year, it's goodbye from me. It's goodbye from James. And we'll see you all soon. Goodbye.